What is happening? And welcome to my podcast. I'm Naomi, and I was just starting to forget what I was about to say, but I'm telling you my name first. So I'm Naomi, and my Instagram is Naomi Joy Knits, and this is my podcast, which is NJ Knits. So I think that was largely due to name availability, why the difference is. But anyway, Naomi Joy, NJ, that's that. I'm quickly grabbing a moment whilst my parents go out to, actually, do you want to know the real truth about this? They're going out to use the toilet because the building has turned off the water again. Very annoying. It's happened so many times. Flat, beautiful, always lauding these wonderful Airbnb hosts, but actually when I leave I'll probably link their Airbnb listing because it's great if you're ever in Calgary. Highly recommend. But building, not so great. Anyway, the water being off is not great. I'm on night shifts at the moment, which means that the water, they turn the water off in the times when 9 to 5ers would be at work, so they turn it off from 9 to 5, and that's when I'm at home now because I'm working the other way around. So let me quickly tell you what I'm wearing. I have the Maude tee, Maude, Maude or Maude, by Petite Knit, which I saw and I was like, need this. I just love a collar on knitting. I saw it somewhere, I think on the high street. This happens to me often where I see something on the high street and I'm like, I need to make that. And it wasn't this, it was a shirt, and it was much lighter. It was like a light, very light knitted fabric, and it was the cut of an Oxford shirt, but it was knit, and I was like, oh, I need this. I still haven't quite found that pattern on Ravelry, but I saw this and I was like, I'll make this in the meantime. I did it, so if you remember from my previous episode 2, I think, I had finished the cherry, and this whole time I've been working on the Gibson ruffle blouse and the cherry, so those two things have been made in this alpaca that I got from Yarnundyed. Well, this was the other kind of alpaca that I got. This was the exact same, just a different colorway. I think the colorway was rose, and so it's a 4-ply alpaca, but for this I actually held it double. It made a great fabric, but it's quite heavy, which is okay. I'm not the hugest fan of heavy knits. I find that they quite often make my shoulders get sore. Obviously this doesn't because it's just a tee, but anyway, it's fantastic. It's got a little bit of this from having been folded, but it's got a folded hem, I think this is called, which was a new to me technique, and I absolutely love it. It blocks out, this alpaca blocks out so well. It looked, really bumpy, lumpy, and then when I blocked it, it was like, oh, the collar was really fun to do. I probably couldn't describe it to you, and I shouldn't because it's a paid for pattern, but it was really, really fun. If you're looking for some kind of construction sort of challenge, really fun. So raglan sleeves, and these are wooden buttons. My partner is the official button picker. She thinks that I have bad taste in buttons, so she picks them out. She's the tasteful one. So, let's get on to some finished objects. Guys, I've kind of been keeping this off the Instagram because big news. I fixed the slippers. Look at these absolute beauties. So, this is my 100% hashtag not obstructed by perfection. Because girl, these are not perfect. I can tell you that for free. So what I did was I did slice them and I took some video footage. I did slice them and I shoved them together and then I sewed them, and when I sewed down here it kind of, to be fair, these are kind of a fair width already. They're not horrendously wide. These are quite a bit wide, but this is kind of a tuck. So when I sewed this bit into here, my mum actually did this one. She kind of just sewed the inside to the top and kind of tucked in this bit. So this is just a floppy bit, which is funny. This bit is also a floppy bit. My dad says he can keep a biscuit in here for later. I mean, I think that happened because this shrank and this didn't. I mean, guys, to be fair, this actually has a bit of a shape to it. But this, my friends, I mean, but you know what's funny? He's been wearing these non-stop in the house. He actually really likes them. So this is what they look like on the inside. This is what I meant by like a little tuck here on the side where it's too loose. And literally just sewing along here. And I did whip stitch here because I thought that might kind of cover this sort of like the harshness of this transition, but along the sides it's just like in and out plain. I just used some scrap bulky wool that I had in my little trusty bag of scraps, and guys, I mean, so funny. I cannot believe how funny, but they're being used, guys. They're being used. He wears them all the time in here. And so, because these are his other slippers, but they're a bit too shoe-like for him. He does quite like a floppy flop slipper. So, let's actually do a quick comparison. I mean, serviceable? Yes. Beautiful? Not obstructed by perfection, guys. That's the motto here. So that is finished object number 1. Finished object number 2 is, there's big news today in my knitting world. My Marta V-neck jumper. It's not blocked, but I'm going to show it to you. It is amazing. I'm so excited about it, and more cast on news later. You could probably guess if you just watched my previous episode about this. It is full cloud, living my full cloud dream. I mean, guys, how cute is this? Just showing you my bum. So it's got a low back hem. It's got options for ribbing or for I-cord. I went for I-cord because I haven't done an I-cord finish on a jumper before. And I love, 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 love. I think it's possible that I went a little too short here. I actually went slightly longer than the pattern says, but I think I might have gone a little too short for me, but I think it'll probably block out. It's so loose. I reckon it'll. And you guys, how this happened, I couldn't even tell you, to be honest. This striping situation happened at random. Long car journey. This weekend was, we went kayaking. I'll put in some pictures maybe. We went kayaking to the Northlands in a place called Lakeland. So really descriptive, not super unique sounding names, but we went to the Northlands and went to Lakeland, and we went to some lakes in Lakeland and we kayaked. So the drive was like 6 hours, and I put in a lot of time on this. I was so annoyed because I forgot to bring the smaller needles that I needed to do the I-cord. So I literally had yarn and active needles and yarn on all 3 of these openings, and it was like, what's happening? But it worked out fantastically. I can't believe how these stripes like match. I don't know how that happened. I kind of just did a random amount of this before I started the striping. It was mostly just like, am I gonna have enough gray? Make sure I have enough gray. I did try and wind off the gray into 2 balls kind of by eye, which is something that I'll do when I'm trying to make sure I have enough of both. Hashtag not obstructed by perfection. I don't want to sound braggy. That's not a brag. It's like, anyway, sometimes I feel like it's easy to sound braggy. I could be wrong. Anyway, yeah, so I just kind of do it by eye, and I'm like, okay, we'll try and use about this much. I use a bit less than my eyeballed half for one sleeve, and then the other sleeve, so I had some left. I had approximately, once it's reballed, this much left of the gray, and that's it's loosely spun, it's loosely balled, but fair amount. So that is going to go into my whip, which I'll show you in a minute. But yeah, finishing this off, I used Katia Concept Silk Mohair Seta, which is silk mohair. Katia Concept Silk Mohair. It's 70% silk and 30% mohair because it's a chainette yarn or a blow yarn, which is just blow yarn. They blow the mohair fibers into the little chained tube of silk. So it makes it a thicker yarn. You can kind of see here. It's much thicker. This is the chained thing of silk. But because it's a tube, it's super airy. And so it's thicker, but just as light as like not a normal, but the plied silk mohair that a lot of people use and you see a lot in all over the place. It's thicker, but it's lighter. And so I think it sort of knits up similar to maybe 2, like silk mohair held double, the more commonly found silk mohair held double. I mean, you tell me what you think, but that's kind of what I think it sort of knits up at. This is knit on 7mm needles, and then 5mm for the I-cord here. And this isn't my highest waisted jeans. I have some that are here, but this is my sort of more normal high-waisted jeans, and I am so obsessed. I was worried that this stripe was gonna look too sporty when this is trying to look like classic and chic, but actually I think sporty mixed with classic and chic is definitely my vibe. Yeah, I think it's really cool. I'm so happy with it. And I love this raspberry color. I ended up with 1 full ball of the raspberry left and a little bit of a ball left over from the body, which was the last thing I did. And as I say, I think I knit about this much more of the body than the pattern called for. The pattern actually does rose, which is some patterns don't tell you like how many rows to knit. They just say like how many centimeters, but this pattern does rows and tells you the centimeters. It also tells you how many like stitches you have around and how many centimeters that should be making, which is something that I've not encountered before, and I think that's quite cool. Like, okay, so now you have, you know, X number of stitches all the way around, and that should be making about this many centimeters. And I think that's really cool because it's great to like double check your gauge as you're going. One thing Roxanne Richardson does is she actually blocks halfway through a jumper. She'll just take the needles off the cord and put the little ends on and block it and just double check her gauge as she's going, which I think is... Ooh, I had to show off this beautiful little detail. I also love the way that the neckline, this happens. This is part of the cast on. When you saw it last, all you saw was this little guy right here that you knit one direction and then pick up and knit the other direction and then whee! The construction was legitimately so much fun, guys. I also thought, because it's a high-low, I probably won't be able to do this. I had originally thought it would be fun to be able to wear it backwards as well, with the V at the back, because I don't know why, but something just attracts me to the concept of a V at the back. But I think a high back won't be quite as cool. Yeah, that's not... It's not really the ideal. I'll have to make a different pattern that has a low V back. That's one thing I've been dreaming of. Something with a super low V back. Any suggestions? Greatly appreciated on that one. So that's that. I think that's all the... oh no, there's a hoe. There's a hoe now. This was what I finished on the kayaking trip. A little child's sock. I got that Regia child's sock yarn, and I didn't wind off when I finished the heel. I just kept going, and so I have this little like middle bit. That's cool. I like it. I also did the Italian cast on, which I've never done for the ribbing. I normally just do the loose long tail cast on. I love the Italian cast on. This 1x1 ribbing, faux tubular, I think it's also called. I mean, guys, look at that. So I learned this cast on from the hats that I've been making for Knit Curious, the Mountain Melody hat, which is probably out soon, or it'll be out soon. Check it out. It's a really cool pattern, really fun, so quick to knit. And she uses that for the cast on, and so that's why I learned it, and I love it. So good. So that's my hoe. Gotta get started on the second one, but I love to have like, okay, how many socks do I have on the go at the moment? 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you count those Aran socks, 5, but they're barely on the go. They're just sort of half-heartedly cast on. It's just a lot of socks on the go. That's not a normal thing for me, but it's happening, so that's okay. So whips, guys, whips. Trying to get through this fast. I've got the energy. It's like I've woken up. It's not the end of the day. I think all my podcasts to date have been the end of the day. So, new side of me, folks. Guys, big news. I picked up the pescatarian. I got out the long needles to do it in a what's the word? Magic loop method. So much easier. Finally finished this section. In the pattern it says you can do this section 3 times or 2 times or just once, and I'm like, I think once is fine, thank you very much. Also, I think that's a length that I like for a sock. I don't generally need it to be much longer than that. Also with a beautiful sock, like, you'd want it with something like, with a beautiful sock you want to show it off. So you don't want this, I don't know what I'm saying. I think this is a great length for me is what I'm saying. So I'm starting on the heel flap. It's been a hot minute since I did heel flap and gusset, guys. I used to only do heel flap and gusset because I used to knit before I knew that like Ravelry existed, and possibly before Ravelry existed I knit. So I would get it from, there was some website that was kind of like a blog and you could get patterns for free. I've forgotten what the name of it is. If anyone remembers the name of that website, I think it was an American website. Very simple, just like a list, and you could kind of find like categories. Anyway, throwback to that. That's where I got patterns basically. And so I learned the heel flap and gusset method of making socks, and that's what I did. I just did that always and never did any patterns on socks. I just did that, and only recently, like watching Roxanne Richardson, I basically discovered Roxanne Richardson's podcast. So anyway, I was saying that I have always been a heel flap and gusset gal because I didn't know how to do any other type of heel until I was watching Roxanne Richardson, and she talks about different types of heels. So I tried them out, and I tried short row heels, which I had always wanted to do because I think that's how like they look when you buy socks, is the like the short row heel kind of look. And so I enjoyed doing them. So that's the long way of saying it's been a while since I've done a heel flap and gusset because I've been on a short row heel kick. But back when I, just made normal socks randomly, like these, heel flap and gusset all the way. These are made with a drops yarn. It's wool. I'll find it. It's on my stash because I'm quite good about keeping my stash updated on Ravelry. Everything else I'm not as good about, but the stash I find actually really helpful for myself, like knowing what I have. Because again, on the boat, not easy to have like a yarn wall. So anyways, all of that was to say that this pattern, which is a free pattern by General Hog Buffer, who all of their patterns are free, which I think is amazing. Just really cool. It's also really cool when patterns are paid for, I think, because it's cool to support the people who do them. But it's also cool to be super accessible. So this is an Eye of the Partridge heel, which I've always wanted to try, and I didn't realize how simple it was. It's like a slip stitch heel, except you slip, instead of always slipping the same stitch on the knit side, you slip the opposite stitch every other time. That's all. I don't think I said that super clearly, but normally there's one stitch that's kind of like looks looser and one that looks tighter, because the looser one is the one you're always slipping on the knit side and then purling on the purl side. With this, you're slipping one and then you're purling it, and then you're purling, and then you're knitting that same one, and then you're purling, and then you're slipping in. It's kind of like garter for slip stitch in a weird way. I don't know. Sorry, I should stop putting needles on the thing because that's really noisy for you. So anyway, guys, there's progress happening on this sock. So exciting. Big news in my world. The other whip I have is another sock. There is progress on the second Wool and the Gang kind of magic socks. Here they are. Let me grab the other one. Other one's here. So we are here with this one. Yesterday we went out because I was working night, so we went out during the day with my mom and dad and went shopping, and this whole bit of leg was done walking, getting pastries, sitting at coffee, then shopping. So that was cool, and I haven't done any more since. I'm almost approaching the ridiculous heel situation that I find so strange. yeah, very close to that. And yeah, I guess let's see if my gauge is similar. Let's have a look at some similar spots. Here is one that looks pretty similar to that one. Doo-doo-doo. And that looks pretty similar, I would say. So, same needles. I've been trying to kind of keep my gauge similar. It is like a slightly mindful thing that I'm doing, because no needles work perfectly without me paying attention to my gauge, if that makes any sense. I'm not knitting tightly, and I'm not knitting loosely, and I'm not knitting normally. I'm just kind of like knitting mindfully, I guess. Just sort of like every once in a while going a little tighter, every once in a while going a little more normal. I'm never going loosely, really, unless I don't know. It's all a bit random, but it seems to work. Just kind of being aware of like where the blue is, and is it gonna like match up, sort of. I don't know. It's like vaguely attempting to make it work well, but also not worrying overly about whether it works or not. That's my strategy, my general approach. And my final whip is another Sugar Boo bralette. So that was what I was talking about in the last episode, possibly doing a matching cami to my Marta v-neck jumper, which I just showed you. Here it is. So I'm going to show you the thing that I always do when I try things on that are top down. It's just a lazy way of trying them on. I really want to get some KYB cables. Those cables that you connect to the needle, and then you can like spread the stitches and try stuff on. I saw them from Knitting Traditions podcast. But until I have them, this is my... Excuse me, it's in the other room, as per usual. So until I get those YKB cables, YKB, I can't remember exactly what the name is. It's 3 letters. I feel like there's a Y and a K in there. What I do is I make use of, I have a Knitter's Pride, or in the UK it's Knit Pro interchangeable needles. I think it's Knitter's Pride elsewhere. So I have a set of them, and these are the cables that come with them. One of the cables very rudely lost its little thing that connects to the needles. Don't know what you would call that. I don't know. It lost its end. So I was gonna throw it out, and then I realized that I could put a connector on here and leave it on here, because they, you usually have more connectors than you really need. And this is my little secret weapon for trying things on. It's what I need to do is I'll show you how I do it, and then I'll talk about what I need to do to modify. So I take off one of my needles. Oops. I don't put it on the table where it will clamor and make a loud noise for you. I put it elsewhere. I don't know why I'm being silly, but that's fine. And then I connect this cable on, like so. Trying not to smack myself in the face as I twirl it on. Okay, and then it's connected. Then, here's the key. I can't put like a stopper on here, but what I need to do is fashion a stopper, because this is the only purpose of this is to attach to projects that I'm in the middle of working on, and to do this with it and create a really wide thing. So I just have to keep my hand on this when I put it over my head and like try it on, because otherwise the stitches do come off of this. And then I just keep the needle on this one. So I shall show you. It's gonna be awkward, guys. It's gonna be awkward and weird because it's always a little bit of a production trying it on in this way. But I have a tendency to do things that are lazy but actually end up being more work than if I wasn't lazy. But anyway, that's fine. So here we go. Hold on to these two little nubs. Get this over. This is the first time I'm trying this on. So, you know, in my general way, this could end up not fitting me because I'm a disaster sometimes. Can I put that there? Get this up and over. Then I'm like, find that cable, make sure it's not losing things. And it isn't. Hooray! Hooray! So this, and then here's my needle here. So then I can like tighten it to see how it's looking. So I done the straps. I think the straps are a good length. I measured them off of a top that I have that I like the straps length of. So this is going to stripe. I have, as I showed you before, this much of the platinum. That's the colorway of the Katya Seta mohair. This much platinum and this much raspberry. Kind of similar amounts actually to my hand scales. The hand scales. Yeah, pretty similar amounts. So I was actually considering not doing ribbing on this bralette, which is how it normally is. I think that's my end being woven in, and you can kind of see it. So that's a little bit on the unfortunate side. I might have to do something about that because you can definitely kind of see that. It's just, yeah, I've just woven in my end there. I even was like trying to be good on purpose and not just knit them double. I was like, oh, weave it in, I'll be good. I don't know why I label that as good versus the way I do it as bad. They're just different ways of doing it. So I'll try weaving in my end instead of doing it how I normally do it, and you can see it. So, anyways, I might just take it out and like weave it in over here or something. I wanted it to be a little tighter fitting, so I made a smaller size than the original one that I made. Also, this is a little bit thinner than Aran weight, which is what you're meant to use for the Sugar Boo bralette, but it is mohair, so. So what I was saying was, normally there is some ribbing here, but I'm kind of considering doing this striping and then just doing an I-cord. A little controversial, I know, because it's not particularly like holdy-any. So maybe it's not a good idea, but I just thought that might be kind of cute because like this is an I-cord and the Marta V-neck jumper is all I-cords, and then this would be an I-cord and it would be like a happy I-cord family. Happy I-cord family. And also it would mean that I wouldn't have to either A, stripe the ribbing, or B, decide what's occurring with these yarns, because they're pretty even amounts of yarn left. The other thing I could do, I was thinking, was at the moment I'm doing one stripe of platinum and one round of platinum and 2 rounds of raspberry. So I could continue doing the 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and then I could, until like this was like really running out, and then I could do the rest in this, but I kind of don't feel like that's gonna work. So thoughts and opinions are greatly appreciated and welcomed and replied to as a general rule. So yeah, that's my guy. My Sugar Boo bralette number 2 for me, which I will now attempt to take off without causing havoc to the stitches. Here's my little cable. It should be okay. I'm just gonna go for it. Yay! We didn't lose stitches. And then you just do that. And you get back to your original cable. Take that bad boy off. Oh my goodness, I don't have to do that because these are those amazing cables. So these green ones are those amazing cables that actually, they'll turn without the whole cable turning. Wow, it's a real game changer, you guys. A real game changer. Yeah. So that is that whip. Very excited by it. It shouldn't take too long. I'm knitting this on 5mm needles, which is what the pattern says. And, oops, that's not the front. That's the front. Yeah, that's what the pattern calls for, is 5mm needles. And, it's lovely. It's beauteous. I actually used 3mm needles for the I-cord because I kind of didn't want it to stretch too much. I think it'll stretch a bit, but I thought 3mm would be quite nice so that it didn't like stretch overly. So you can kind of see a bit of a difference there in what's happening. I just thought this looked like a smile, so I tried to make a smile. But it looks more like a chin shape, I guess. Anyway. Here's the back. I like that it's smaller triangles on the back than the front. I appreciate that little detail. And I just appreciate this fantastic mohair and silk camisole that is gonna get on my body soon. So, finally, we have acquisitions. And I'm making this face. I'm actually being facetious. Is that the right word? I'm making this face. I'm fooling you because I don't got more yarn, guys. I do have one little acquisition. My mother got it for me, and it made me laugh. So I thought I would share it with you. You know, I was talking about my knitting notebook, and these kind of match. She got me these pens, and the name for the pens is "The Struggle is Real." I mean, it is, isn't it? It's always real. It says on the back, #for reals. Can't decide if you need a hug, a shot of vodka, a venti coffee, or 2 weeks of sleep? Push through your woes with the Struggle Bus pens. Cute, right? Designed in Canada. The pens say... There's wine in my coffee cup. Seriously, I can't even. Venti vodka, please. Is it Friday yet? This is my favorite one. This is because my partner's always like, I don't know, tell me in the comments below, please. Tell me, are you a person that has loads of tabs open? Or are you a person that closes that shiz once you're done with it and opens a new one? Because I'm the person, as you may be able to guess, that has 1 million tabs open at all times. And my partner will sometimes walk by and look at my computer and just be like, what is happening? So anyways, this pen says, my brain has too many tabs open. That's amazing. And then the last one says, the struggle is real. So I'm going to use these Struggle Bus pens on my knitting notebook to write down my ideas and thoughts and plans. So the final thing that I wanted to talk about was a giveaway. And what I want to do is I want to do a hashtag not obstructed by perfection giveaway. So what I'm going to do is to enter in the giveaway, just subscribe to the video, the YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me over on Instagram, and use the hashtag not obstructed by perfection. And I just want you to if you just tag anything that you're working on that like makes you think about this concept for whatever reason, I'm gonna let you sort of define it. So it's not like required that you mess anything up like me, or like, you know, do anything particularly wrong. But even if it's just like you're trying something that you maybe would have held back from trying because you'd be worried that you wouldn't be able to do it well or right, or you're not advanced enough or something, but then you decide, you know what, I'm not going to be obstructed by perfection, I'll just try it. Or if, you know, you've spotted a mistake and you're just going to move right along and not be obstructed by that perfection, that you know, that kind of thing as well. Like, or you're gonna try a little bit of yarn chicken or whatever it is. If it makes you think of that, just tag do the hashtag and tag me in it, I guess, as well. I was gonna say you don't have to tag me, but it's probably easier that way. And then I will pick from all the people who have posted any posts that weren't obstructed by perfection. They can be whips, they don't have to be finished. I'm going to post you out some yarn from Canada, some Canadian yarn, and I'll put together a little goodie bag for you. So I'm going to do that before I leave Canada, which is going to be in a week and a half's time. So I will be sending this out. It's going to be a quick giveaway, and that's fine. That's okay. I'm going to be sending this out next Friday, posting it out to the winner. So over the weekend and I'll probably get this video out on Saturday, hopefully. Then over the weekend and throughout the week, I'll choose a winner on the Thursday and then post it out on the Friday. So you can have some Canadian yarn. And then I'm going to continue this not obstructed by perfection knit along, and I'll do another giveaway like with a more reasonable period of time. Not reasonable, but with a longer period of time. I'm trying to I'm doing a little bit of trying to avoid a lot of judgmental words that are kind of unnecessary. Like, why do I need to judge the amount of time? Anyways, that's why I keep kind of correcting myself. It's something I'm continuously working on. Just like the needless judgment that I place on things that I talk about. There's no need to be judgmental about it. Anyway, too many tabs open on the brain, guys. So anyway, I'll continue the knit along, and we'll do another giveaway back in London or possibly in Prague, depending on where I am, for finished objects that you've been working on with this concept of not being obstructed by perfection. So with that, Mr. Owl is going to say goodbye. This was made by an amazing sculptor. I got it in the beginning of my stay here. Got some maple tea. Ooh! A little bit of mohair in the tea. So with that, I hope that you have a fantastic weekend, and if not fantastic, I hope you manage your way through it, and if you're not managing your way through it, that's okay too. Sending out all of the Love to everyone. Okay, see you later.